Hi, this is JoAnna Brandi, and I'm here to teach you a little bit more about how to get a return on happiness. This is part 3, positive spillover and positive deviance. Positive emotions actually evolved in humans because they serve an important purpose, to build and broaden our capacity to create solutions. So when you can shift from the focus on the negative to the focus on the positive, you actually create an opening in the brain. An opening that makes us smarter, quicker, and even more creative. It's called the broaden and build response. Now, at work, there are 2 kinds of spillover. Positive spillover occurs when satisfaction, happiness, and appreciation and stimulation at work translate into high levels of energy. When people go home from work, there's an energy gain because they've had a good day at work. And that spills over because they have energy to work in their communities, in their churches, at work with their customers, suppliers, and donors. It just spills out from the organization. But there's also something called negative spillover. And that occurs when problems or conflicts at work actually drain or preoccupy individuals, and that negatively impact their behavior and their health. And those are negative relationships at work, or toxic relationships at work, spill over into the home. I saw this firsthand when I used to teach over at the Aid to Victims of Domestic Abuse. In that case, it was mostly men because I worked with women, men who were not treated well at work. They were disrespected. They were dissed. They didn't have a chance to live up to their potential. They were yelled at by bosses. They were put down. They would come home angry. And unfortunately, at times they took it out on their families. Spillover makes a real big difference. You have positive spillover or negative spillover. Are you creating energy gains for people during the day or energy drains for people during the day? I call it the positive spillover effect. Positive culture has more impact. It really does. It touches more people you know. That the spillover, the studies that have been done are so impressive that when you create a positive emotion for another person, that person is going to go create a positive emotion to 2 or 3 more people. So it spills over outside your company. It spills over into your families. It spills over into your communities. Positivity actually does travel. Very cool. And positivity actually causes more profits. It's interesting because it feels like it's an intangible, but it becomes very tangible when you start measuring it. So this is my favorite exercise. Now, when I am working with groups, especially groups of senior executives and CEOs, I get everybody up from their place and I put out these little, I call them maps that look like this. And in the center, it says positive workplace culture. And from a positive workplace culture, what can happen? Well, for instance, you can have more happy customers. Oh, that's interesting. Well, what happens if you have more happy customers? Well, they buy more. They come back. They refer friends. There's positive word of mouth. See how that works? This is called a future map, and it's a really useful tool. And then I ask the people that are with me to come up with other things that happen when there's a positive workplace culture. So on this particular map, which is the first one I grabbed, look at that. Isn't that cool? And I'll tell you the reason there's orange marks on it. So this particular one, they created their own circles too, by the way, that this got bigger and bigger. So this one says, well, there's more productivity. And stemming from more productivity, there's more sales, better margins, higher wages, more quality. They put quality in one of those yellow circles. They put engaged employees in one of those yellow circles. And engaged employees are going to refer their friends, so you never have to go to an employment agency to find new people. They create, I love how people do this. They create their own circles. They create their own circles. I'm going to give you access to this tool. I just don't quite know how to do that yet, but you can send me an email and I'll get it to you. And it has instructions on how to do this with your team. It is so cool. But look at this. Workplace culture leads to more safety, which means lower costs. Workplace culture means more fun, which means more productive, means less turnover. So I'm sure you're getting my gist here. Here's the exciting part of this. I have these people do this for about 10 minutes until it's all filled out. And then I ask them to take a breath, because we do that, and say, now take a different color pen and put a $sign next to any one of those circles that are either going to bring you money or save you money. And that's when the aha moment occurs. Most of the time they find that there's nothing on there that doesn't bring them money or save them money. It's a magnificent exercise. And I'll encourage you to write to me and get a copy of it so you can do it with your team. Or you can invite me in to facilitate it. That's always fun. So how far can it go? How far can this positive spillover go for you? So how do you get positive spillover? Well, you do it through something I call positive leadership. Now, what's the difference? What is positive leadership? Well, it's not the opposite of negative leadership. It's an intentional style of leadership that energizes, elevates people, and invites them to bring their best selves to work. We use evidence-based science, which is really important. We look at what works, which is called positive deviance, and I think you're going to find out that you're positively deviant. It's value-based, and there's a little super send thing next to value, because it's based on two kinds of value. Values, what are your values? Are you living your values? That's one kind of value. And the other value is summed up in the phrase, how can I add value today? As a leader, the first thought of your day should be, after you say prayer, how can I add value today? How can I add value to my team? How can I add value to my company? How can I add value to my customers? How can I add value today? When you create an organization where everybody gets up in the morning and says to themselves, how can I add value today? You change the organization. And I can tell you with 34 years of experience that I've seen that happen. So if you want nothing else to change in your company, just ask that one question over and over again. How'd you add value today? How'd you add value today? We want to add more value here. How did I add value today? How can we add value tomorrow? It's really special. Positive leadership is authentic. It really has to come from the heart. It's authentic. That's why there's a beautiful picture of a burning heart there. It has to come from your heart. A lot of my studies were done in California at the Institute for Heart Math. So frequently, you're going to hear me referring to the power of the heart, which is way more powerful than the brain. Frequently, you may hear me ask you to take a deep breath or put your hand on your heart while you're taking a deep breath. There's a lot of evidence that when you shift your thinking from your head to your heart, you get a better quality answer. So let's take a look at something we call positive deviance. This is the bell curve of normal distribution. Over there on the I guess you're seeing it from the left, there are going to be the low performers. The low performers, they don't last very long, and I haven't seen any in your industry at all. But then there's the average performers, and then there's a small little curve there for the high performers. I'd say that most people in ECS are high performers, which means that you're positively deviant. What does that mean? It means you dramatically exceed the norm in a positive direction. It means you have an affirmative bias. You focus on strengths rather than weaknesses. You focus on optimism rather than pessimism. And you are supportive over critical in your feedback. Supportive over critical in your feedback. It means that your focus is on virtuousness and values. How can you be good? How can you be good? How can you help create the best of the human condition right there in your company, right there in your life? Are you positively deviant? Companies that exceed other companies in their customer loyalty have all these qualities. And lest you think this is Pollyanna-ish, it's not at all. Because companies that are positively deviant have standards of excellence in every area. They have standards of excellence. They challenge themselves to improve because they want to get better every day. They want to be at the top of their industry. They want to be at the top of their game. So keep asking, are you positively deviant? What happens when you become a positively deviant leader is you become a positive energizer. My online course is at positiveenergizer.com because I love that word so much. Positive Energizer. The extent to which you as a leader are a positive energizer is 4 times more important than your title, your hierarchy, your position, or your influence, or your information. So if you want to succeed, you want to become a positive energizer. So let me ask the question, when I interact with you, am I uplifted, elevated, and inspired? Or am I depleted, exhausted, and demoralized? Is your organization fostering and enabling positively energized leaders? If not, why not? So what happens when you do this is you increase your positive capacity, and that's your organization's ability to create, experience, and expand on all of the benefits. And we talked about the benefits of positive emotion in video number 2. Positive capacity is going to impact all your business results. And you're going to build something called what we call PsyCap, and you would call psychological capital. Psychological capital. We use the acronym HERO. We want you to build more resilience, more optimism, more health, more enabling, more empathy, more. There are so many aspects to this. But things we really didn't talk about before in business, things that we're talking about now as a way to get to success in business. Now, Barbara Fredrickson, I think I mentioned before, she's one of my main teachers. She tells us that you need 3 times more positivity than negativity to cross the line between languishing and flourishing. Now, why is that? 3 times more positivity than negativity. Otherwise, the part of our brain that's always looking for danger takes over. And it's very difficult today because you don't have to look far for danger. All you have to do is pick up your cell phone before that part of your brain is stimulated that tells you you need to go protect yourself. So one of the reasons that we're seeing so much burnout and so much stress is that just having that little device in your hand when you can pick it up and not even go look for the news, but the news just pops up. You can see something tragic happening across the globe. Your body's going to react. So we need to balance that by having more positivity than negativity. And if you want high performance, and if you're here watching this video, I know you do, the ratio changes to 5-to-1. That means you should be delivering 5 times more acknowledgement, affirmation, praise, goodwill, recognition, and compliments, and a focus on someone's strengths rather than sarcasm, criticism, cynicism, or corrective actions related to weaknesses. I'm going to let you sit with that for just a minute, because this is the point where I watch everybody's face change. Honestly, especially CEOs. Oh my goodness. You want me to acknowledge them 5 times more? You want me to give more praise? You want me to give them more recognition? Yeah, actually I do. Because when you learn to look for their strengths, there's a lot of things to give them recognition about. See, a positive leader is always looking for strengths and opportunities to build on them. Positivity ratio of 5-to-1. 5 times more questions that's focused on what's strong rather than what's wrong. 5 times more focus on what's right and what you want to create, and not what's on wrong and what needs to be fixed. Are you catching my drift here? Are you getting a little nervous here? I can tell you the room generally gets a little nervous at this point, because this is a whole different way of thinking. This is a whole different way of thinking. And what's interesting, all of those other statistics comes out of the field of positive psychology. But there has been a couple who, the Gottmans, John Gottman and his wife, and they have been teaching about happy marriages, and they know more about happy marriages than anybody. And happy marriages have a 5-to-1 ratio as well. And if you want to find out about that, you go to the Gottman, Gottmann Institute.com, and you can find out about that. But isn't that interesting? Happy marriages and high performance companies have something in common. I love this ratio. It's not easy to do. I'll explain the eggs later. I'll tell you in just a few minutes what those eggs are about. But right now, there's 5 eggs there, by the way. Oh, there we are. There's the explanation for the eggs. Okay, Dr. Rick Hansen tells us that negative emotions are like Velcro. They stick when they should. Because if you're walking down a dangerous road, you want your brain to remember the dangerous road. But positive emotions slide off like Teflon. Slide off like Teflon. That's why we need 5 times more of the positive emotions to the ratio of the negative emotions. And when you learn how to do this, what you're doing is you're actually changing the function of your brain. You see, neurons that fire together wire together. So the more you practice delivering this 5-to-1 ratio, the more you are creating little superhighways in your brain so that you get to happy quicker. Now, if you remember, I think it was session 1 or 2 when I talked to you about the happiness set point, right? And I said something about I was sort of born on the wrong side of the pie. I was not a happy baby. I was not even a happy child. So I'm wired differently. So in order for me to rewire this old brain over here, I have to focus on creating new neural pathways. So the more positivity I practice in my life, the quicker I can get to happiness. I hope that makes sense. Neurons that fire together, wire together. And so you will see some of the exercise that I start giving you as we go along has a lot to do with building the neural network of positivity. This is our first positivity practice. This one tends to blow people's mind when they actually do it. And when people actually do it, I get some really amazing emails. I call this appreciation audit. A few of my clients actually printed this out so everybody has a little notepad and can do this, because this is what builds the muscle. 3 to 5 times during the day, stop what you're doing. Think about and write down 3 to 5 things that you appreciate about your work, about your day, about your life, about your activities. Now, I want you to come up with 3 to 5 new things every time you do it. So you're doing it 3 to 5 times during the day. Come up with 3 to 5 things to be positive about. Now, when you do this, and here's the heart math work, if you are breathing deeply from your heart, and I think it really helps to just put a hand on your heart when you do that so you're conscious of it, it will be easy to think of those things. Allow those good feelings to spread in your body, especially knowing that they're building your immune system when you do. So over time, what you're doing is you're building your capacity for joy and for noticing what is good. Now, when you're looking to raise your positivity ratio, this is my #1 recommendation. And when people actually do this, I get some really fantastic emails telling me what happens. Now, remember, you need 3 to 5 new things 3 to 5 times during the day. So what you're doing is you're sharpening a part of your brain called the reticular activating system to look for things to appreciate. And once all of the obvious ones are gone, and we all take a look at the beautiful trees and say, oh, I'm going to look at the tree. I'm so grateful for that tree. Or I appreciate that fresh glass of water on my desk. It's all good. But when it really gets juicy is when you get past the day-to-day things and you have to start looking for other things to appreciate. So if you want to build that muscle, this is the exercise to do it. This is the way to build that muscle. So you can write to me, JoAnna, at returnonhappiness.com, and you can ask me for the spillover exercise, and I'll send it to you because you're going to love doing this. This is a future map. If we ever get together, I'll show you how else you can use this amazing tool. In the meantime, join me on LinkedIn or join me. Oh, you know what? I don't have on there. I have a YouTube channel, JoAnnaBrandi.tv. That's it. www.JoAnnaBrandi.tv. I'm about to go change my slide. You can see me on YouTube. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I don't get to Facebook quite as often as I'd like to, but you can always reach me, JoAnna, at returnonhappiness.com. I hope you enjoyed this segment. This was a real meaningful one. Talk to you soon.